Hi friends. And so today, I want to talk about how to actually live your life, because life is hard and we need guidance. I think we all intuitively know what the right thing to do is, but it's not always easy to actually do it. It's not always easy to find the motivation or willpower to get up and pursue our goals, or to be the kind of person that we want to be. And that's where I think philosophy comes in. Philosophy is supposed to help us figure out how we should live our lives. What are the core principles that we should follow? How should we make decisions? How should we interact with other people? How should we deal with temptation? And I think this question of how to live your life well is actually something that philosophers have been thinking about for thousands of years. And so today, I wanted to talk about 3 pieces of advice from Stoic philosophy that can help us actually live our lives. Now, the first piece of advice I want to share is to remind yourself that everything that happens is exactly what you were meant to experience at this point in your life. Epicurus said this in a letter to his student Meniscus, who was going through a tough time in his life. And he said, "What you see happening around you, know that it is all exactly what you were meant to experience at this point in your life. Nothing is too early or too late. Everything occurs at just the right moment." And this idea of everything happens for a reason is a big theme in Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius writes in Meditations that everything happens for a reason, and that the reason is opportunity. So when bad things happen, like when someone wrongs us, or we get sick, or we lose money, we can think of those things as opportunities for growth. Opportunities to practice virtue, opportunities to become more resilient. And by thinking this way, we can start to embrace whatever is happening right now, because we can see that there's some purpose to it. There's some meaning to it. And if we're embracing of our fate, then we can start to take action and influence our circumstances rather than being passive and resentful about them. And so I think this idea that everything happens for a reason is a great way to reframe negative events or difficult events in our lives, so that we can start to feel more grateful and more in control. The second piece of advice is that we shouldn't try to change other people. We should only focus on changing ourselves. Marcus Aurelius writes, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." And Epictetus says, "People are not disturbed by events, but by their opinions about those events." And these ideas are really important because they help us to stop blaming other people for our own problems. And they help us to realize that the only person we can actually control is ourselves. We can't control other people's behavior. We can't control what they say or do. And so, if we're constantly trying to change other people, trying to convince them to see things our way, we're going to be setting ourselves up for disappointment and frustration. Instead, we should focus on changing ourselves, on improving our own character, on becoming better people. And then when we encounter other people and they have different opinions or different behaviors than us, we can accept them for who they are. We can recognize that they're just as good as us, even if they're doing things differently. And if we can approach other people with an attitude of acceptance and understanding, then I think we'll find that our relationships are much more peaceful and harmonious. The third piece of advice is that we should ask ourselves before we do anything, is this essential? Because most of the things we do are not essential. They're just habits, or they're based on other people's expectations. And by focusing on the essential, I mean the things that are important to us, the things that align with our values and our goals. Then I think we'll be able to make more progress towards the things that really matter. When we do this, we can eliminate all the wasted time and energy that we spend on things that don't really matter. We can stop worrying about other people's opinions, and we can focus on what we want to accomplish. This idea of focusing on the essential is related to the idea of indifference in Stoicism. The Stoics believed that we should not be attached to external things, because those things are beyond our control. And so by focusing on the essential, I think we're doing 2 things. We're refocusing on the things that are within our control, and we also letting go of the things that are beyond our control. And I think both of those things are really important for living a good life. If we can let go of the things that we keep you in control and focus on the things that we can control, then I think we'll be better able to find peace and happiness in our lives. These 3 pieces of advice are just a small sampling of the wisdom that we can find in Stoic philosophy. And I think if we actually followed this advice, we'd be better able to cope with the challenges of life. We'd be better able to find meaning and happiness, and we'd be better able to live the kind of life that we want to live. I think one of the biggest problems that we face today is that we have so much information available to us at all times. We're constantly bombarded with news and social media and emails, and it can be tough to figure out what's important and what we should focus on. And so I think this idea of focusing on the essential is more important than ever. Another problem we face today is that we have so many choices to make. We have so many different options in terms of what we eat and what we buy and where we travel and how we spend our free time. And I think this idea of not being attached to external things can help us to deal with the stress and the anxiety that comes with having so many choices. If we're not attached to particular outcomes or particular things, then I think we be better able to enjoy the journey and to be present in the moment. Finally, I think we live in a very individualistic culture. We're always told to put ourselves first and to follow our dreams and to grab life by the horns. And I think this idea of serving others and being of service can help us to remember that there are other people in this world and that we're not just looking out for ourselves. When we serve other people, when we help others, when we contribute to our communities, I think we're able to find a sense of purpose and meaning that's greater than ourselves. And so these are just a few of the ways that Stoic philosophy can help us to actually live our lives. If you're interested in learning more about Stoicism, I highly recommend checking out some of the resources there. There's a lot of great books and podcasts and articles out there that can help you to learn more about this ancient philosophy that's been so influential throughout history. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it helps you to actually live your life. Thanks for watching.